The courtroom didn't just go silent. It froze, all eyes fixed on Cassie Ventura as she stepped onto the witness stand, not as a pop icon, not as Diddy's ex-partner, but as the woman who might finally reveal what truly happened behind the scenes.
Curtain.
Star witness Cassie Ventura taking the stand today in a New York courtroom in the sting and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Federal prosecutors claim Combs used lies, to coerce his ex-girlfriend into suits. Ventura said the alleged sexual encounters typically lasted between 36 to 72 hours, the longest one lasting 4 days.
What she said next sent shockwaves through the entire space with a steady but piercing tone. Cassie allegedly shared disturbing details about the late Kim Porter.
Because
you just collapsed, right?
Yeah, so, just mysteriously out of the blue, which we do talk about in the book.
Yes,
what that,
I want to get into
what that process is. But so it's been quite a journey. And as I said, even as it relates to writing the book, I went through almost, more than a decade of being scrutinized and clowned by law enforcement, them telling me, you need some help. Really? What's wrong with you? No way. Not realizing that they were also working for the situation.
Because you were hinting, saying,
posting. Yeah. I get calls, take it down or else, so on and so forth.
But this is about Diddy, so let's be clear for everybody that doesn't know.
Diddy, who's about to, his trial's about to start. Yeah, yes. They're selecting a jury.
But you were on this train years ago.
Yes, many, many years ago. I posted some information that was, basically trying to save my life. And thank goodness to my ex, the wonderful Kim Porter, the late Kim Porter, who, kind of warned me all along the way to, just kind of watch your back, so on and so forth. And I didn't understand why.
Because of Diddy?
Basically.
Do you believe that she died of pneumonia?
Absolutely not.
Why? What evidence do you have?
She was in the best of health. We just saw each other prior to her passing. We were actually celebrating our son's new Netflix Christmas special, and she was doing just fine. In fact, we were all at the event together at Netflix in the lobby. Sean, myself, the children, all having a great time. And I'm, grabbing Sean like, what? And she's in the back going, stop.
Details the public had never known. She spoke of odd nights, whispered anxieties, and confidential talks with Kim that suggested something was off. Then in a moment, no one anticipated.
Now, as far as jury selection goes, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that both sides expect to have all of this done in the matter of 3 days. Now, given just how high profile this trial is, I was kind of stunned that they seem very confident that they will be able to seat a jury in that amount of time.
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to exploit both women and men for decades.
Elaborate, sometimes days-long parties by coercing victims through drugs, threats, and manipulation. They claim to have video evidence, and some of the accusations echo details from over 70 civil lawsuits filed against Combs over the last 30 years.
Major developments tonight involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Because this time around, Diddy was brought in first. He was brought in about a couple minutes after 2 p.m. today. And we were all kind of waiting to see. We had heard mumblings that his mom might be in courtroom, that we were waiting for the children, but then nothing happened. But then, in another twist and turn, the children do walk in. But this time it was a lot smaller bunch than it was the last time. So last time you're having all of Diddy's children, except with the exception of Love, who is just a 2-year-old child. So she wasn't at court, but you had all of Diddy's children there except Love. But this time around, you just had Justin Combs and Christian Combs, meaning that there was no Quincy there today. Delilah and Jesse weren't there. Chance wasn't there. And the caretakers of his younger children who aren't of age just yet, they were not present inside the courtroom as well today.
Disgraced hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs back in court today. The rapper appearing in a beige smock and pants for his pretrial hearing. Federal prosecutors are saying that they were on track to disclose all of the available evidence to the defense by the end of the year. Well, Diddy has been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn following his arrest in September in a federal sex trafficking case. Last week, Combs abandoned what was his 4th attempt to get released on bail. trial. Joining me for more on this is ABC News senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky. So, Aaron, I know you just essentially left that courtroom. So what do we know about today's hearing?
Well, the prosecutors said they would disclose every piece of evidence that's in their possession by the end of the year. So by December 31st, the defense should have everything. And then the case is going to move toward trial in the spring of next year. Before that, the defense says it wants some clarity from the prosecutors about the scope of Combs's alleged criminal conduct, because right now, defense attorney Mark Agnifilo said the racketeering allegations that Combs faces, the defense believes are the...
She implied Kim had confided in her about feeling unsafe. That one line changed everything. Courtroom observers say, Diddy visibly stiffened his legal team, tried to hide the alarm, but it was too late. He wasn't just being accused of manipulation or dominance. Cassie was now hinting at something graver, something darker for a man already under legal scrutiny. This wasn't just a bad look, it was. And the most striking part, she didn't look away. She didn't falter. Cassie knew exactly what she was doing, delivering a message not just to the jury, but to the world. And did he lost it. But that was only the start. Cassie didn't hold back in her testimony. She peeled back the layers of what the public always thought was just a chaotic celebrity. Romance. She confirmed under oath that Diddy had been romantically linked with both her and Kim Porter at the same time. This wasn't gossip anymore. It was coming straight from the source. But this wasn't just about overlapping relationships. Cassie described how Diddy pitted them against each other. He allegedly fed them different narratives, controlling the story from both sides to keep them isolated. The more she spoke, the more it became clear. This wasn't about love, it was about control. She described moments when Kim would unexpectedly appear where Cassie had been invited, events that felt orchestrated, phone calls that came at just the right or wrong time. It was like a psychological game, one where Diddy allegedly pulled every string. He didn't want two women. He wanted two puppets. Cassie's voice didn't waver as she laid it all out. She said she didn't even realize the full scope of it until years later when she compared timelines and revisited old messages. But when everything clicked, she wasn't in a relationship, she was in a controlled environment, and what logical impact. Preserve the original script's structure, flow, engagement elements, and psych made it more disturbing. She said Kim eventually saw through it too. According to Cassie, Kim once told her in private that she felt like she was being watched. Even when she was alone, that line wasn't just eerie. It set the entire courtroom on edge by the end of her first hour on the stand. The jury wasn't just listening, they were gripped. Diddy's empire wasn't just being questioned, it was being dismantled. And the next section of Cassie's testimony would send attention soaring, because what she said about Diddy's behavior behind closed doors made people physically recoil. What came next in Cassie's testimony didn't just make headlines, it sent the internet into a frenzy. She didn't hold back when describing the darker, more unsettling sides of her time with Diddy. She exposed a pattern of obsessive control, psychological manipulation, and what she called freak-offs, disturbing events, allegedly orchestrated by Diddy for his own pleasure, where Cassie was often coerced into participating against her will. She described how these events weren't spontaneous or wild nights gone wrong, they were carefully planned. Diddy would allegedly schedule them, choose the location, handpick the people involved, and give Cassie little to no choice in the matter. She claimed he made it feel like an obligation, like a twisted proof of loyalty, and if she resisted, she'd pay for it. Emotionally, mentally, sometimes even financially. It wasn't just the events themselves that disturbed the courtroom. It was the way Diddy allegedly reacted when Cassie expressed discomfort. According to her, he would gaslight her, twisting the narrative and making her feel like she was the problem. She testified that he'd isolate her from family and friends, plant paranoia, and constantly shift between lavish affection and explosive outbursts. Classic manipulation tactics designed to break someone down and make them dependent. And at one point, Cassie said she started journaling, just to feel like she had a sense of self. She described feeling like her identity was slowly erased, and that even when she tried to leave, Diddy allegedly used fear, guilt, and even private threats to pull her back in. And then there was the moment that broke the courtroom silence. She testified that Diddy once told her that if she ever truly left, he would make sure she disappeared quietly. That single statement, delivered with icy calm, landed like a bomb. Gasps, whispers, even audible reactions from reporters. Because that wasn't just control anymore, that was something else entirely. This wasn't just about a toxic relationship. It was starting to sound like a case study in manipulation, coercion, and unchecked power. And the mention of disappearing quietly became even more chilling once the courtroom turned its attention to the next person in focus. Kim Porter, long before the trial, whispers about Kim Porter's passing never quite went away. Official reports labeled it as natural causes, citing pneumonia. But those close to her, especially singer and music producer Albee, sure, never believed it. And when he finally spoke up, it wasn't vague, it was pointed. Albee, sure, who shares a son with Kim Porter, publicly stated that he believes something was off about the circumstances surrounding her death. He said Kim was healthy, active, and had just completed a medical checkup shortly before she passed. In his words, she was glowing, she was vibrant, she was not someone who looked like they were close to the end. He even claimed that Kim had been texting him days before, making plans and sounding excited about the future. His skepticism grew even stronger after receiving a phone call the morning Kim passed. He said that when he heard the news, his immediate gut reaction wasn't grief, it was confusion. Something didn't add up. He said she wasn't sick, she wasn't struggling. So why did she suddenly not wake up? And it's not just talk. Albee, sure, went so far as to say he had tried to get the case reopened, raising questions about the official toxicology report and calling for more transparency. He even shared on social media that he was not going to stop until the truth comes out. While the mainstream press initially brushed it off as grief-driven suspicion, the courtroom that ended with Diddy's screaming threats loud enough for the entire hallway to hear. But what made this testimony especially damning wasn't just the details. It was the fact that the bodyguard said he tried to warn people, that he told members of Diddy's inner circle what was happening, and instead of action, he got silenced. He alleged that people around Diddy were either too afraid or too loyal to speak up, and those who did were quickly pushed out, and he didn't stop there. He claimed that in the weeks leading up to Kim Porter's death, she was distant, paranoid, and unusually guarded. She told him allegedly that she felt like she was being followed, that her calls were being monitored, and then without warning, she was gone. His statement hit the courtroom like a tidal wave. Cassie's words were now backed by someone who had been in the room. Albee, sure, suspicions were no longer just emotional. They were now supported by a man who said he saw things that still haunt him. And as the testimony circulated, the floodgates online burst wide open outside the courtroom. The reaction was explosive. What started as another celebrity scandal had now morphed into a full-blown cultural reckoning. Public interest skyrocketed, news anchors couldn't keep up. YouTube commentary channels pumped out hour-long breakdowns daily. TikTokers dissected body language. Clips from court Reddit threads went full conspiracy mode. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What really happened to Kim Porter? The media wasn't holding back either. Headlines were suddenly bolder. Cassie connects Diddy to Kim Porter's final days. Read, one ex-bodyguard breaks silence as Diddy's world crumbles. Read another. Every outlet wanted to be first. First to break the next shocking quote. First to leak a sealed document. First to get an anonymous comment from someone who knew the couple. And the public wasn't just reacting, they were participating. Thousands of users started resharing old Kim Porter interviews, looking for clues, clips of Kim looking nervous, looking distracted, looking guarded. Suddenly, those moments weren't dismissed as camera shyness. They were rebranded as red flags. One video compilation on YouTube titled, "Did Kim Porter Know Too Much?" hit 2 million views in 48 hours. Another TikTok theory suggesting that Kim had been planning to write a memoir before she passed racked up over 10 million views and triggered a wave of speculation that she was silenced before she could speak. And then there were the celebrities. Not everyone stayed silent. Some former collaborators started unfollowing Diddy on social media. A few offered cryptic messages, quotes about truth always coming to light, and karma doesn't miss. It wasn't direct, but it didn't have to be. The message was clear. Diddy's empire was bleeding from the inside out, and no one was rushing in to stop it. Even brand deals started quietly vanishing. A luxury vodka company scrubbed mentions of him from their site. A fashion label he recently partnered with pulled an upcoming campaign. The industry wasn't waiting for a verdict. They were cutting ties in real time. And the most chilling part, every new revelation, every viral video, every leaked memo, just kept feeding the same question. If Cassie is finally speaking, if the ex-bodyguard is finally speaking, how? Many others are still afraid to talk as the trial unfolds. The implications extend beyond Diddy's personal fate. The case highlights the complexities of celebrity justice and raises questions about accountability in the entertainment industry. The jury's response to the alleged perjury signals a demand for truth regardless of fame or fortune.